hair. It's very funny. We're trying to get Chad Daniels on, I think, for the week.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm talking. He's very bad at texting back. Like yesterday, we texted for like an hour. And then I was like, okay, I'll let you know when we can get on. I text him today. Nothing. Idiot.
Dee Snyder of Twisted Sister is going to be on the show next week.
And Todd Berry's going to be at Playhouse Square on Saturday.
Yes, he is.
With our buddy Jim Twos.
Hey! Yep. So we'll be pimping the Playhouse Square show and his new hour. So that'll be tomorrow. Boy, you want to talk about a sexy headline that ended up being a kind of a predictable story was Daryl Hall gets restraining order on John Oates. I was like, ooh, what happened? Nothing. He just, they're arguing over who should get paid for or who can sell their catalog to companies and stuff. It's all very boring. I had never heard of a restraining order being filed for something like that. I have no experience with restraining orders in general, but I thought it was more like filing an injunction if it was in a business capacity. Daryl Hall is trying to block John Oates from selling his share of the catalog to another company. And there are some people in the know who are calling Daryl Hall out because he did that exact same thing some years ago. But Hall and Oates have, I don't think that they have been on good terms for a long time. Daryl Hall has called John Oates his business partner for a long time, as opposed to his creative partner.
A friend.
A friend, a confidant, a confederate, a lover. No. So, yeah, the headline, I was like, ooh. On Thanksgiving Eve, Daryl Hall got a restraining order against John Oates. Because, you know, when you're an act that's got a big catalog and, you know, these guys didn't make a ton of money because they had really bad publishing deals. It's the oldest story in rock and roll. If you don't own your publishing, you're potentially, you know, a company or your record label will get the bulk of your largesse, as it were. So as successful and popular as Hall & Oates were, you know, they're not one of these bands that's going to sell their catalog, you know, for nine figures.
And they'll get, not 9 figures, but they'll get 8.
They'll get a lot of money.
They're going to get a lot of money for that.
Yep.
Those are very popular songs. They're going to be all over my Spotify Wrapped.
So I guess John Oates wants to sell a big part of his catalog, their catalog, to this investment firm that already owns a big chunk of their catalog. Like a couple decades ago, they sold a big chunk of this to this company, and Daryl Hall is very upset because he doesn't own all of the publishing. You know, that's where the money is. You write the songs, and you'll get the money when those songs are played or become popular, or you have the say over how they get used commercially. There's a lot of bands that don't own their publishing. So you can go out and play the songs, but somebody else is getting the money from the publishing.
I just talked with, so the 2 albums that I have out on that are making money streaming, I talked with the record label about buying back my masters.
Like Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Is it going to be Mary Santora, Hillbilly Bougie, her version?
No. Well, I'd have to re-record the whole album and re-release it by myself.
That's what Tay-Tay did.
But if you buy the masters, you don't have to.
But the number that he quoted me was outlandish.
Of course.
And I was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like,
because they don't want to do that.
Making you that much money. Because I'm like, I'm giving away half my money every month, you know? Like, there's no reason for that. I could be making a pretty decent chunk of change if I owned this. And he was like, yeah, he threw out...
But that's the point.
A 6-figure number.
They want the money.
I was like, you're out of your mind.
Right.
6 figures?
6 figures is insane.
Yeah. And I was like,
well,
for what I'm doing...
I know you're doing good with it, but it's not 6-figure good. Like,
no.
That's, yeah. I mean, that's what you sign up for, though, when, like, we sign these deals.
But it's also just crazy that I was like, okay, if he was like 10 or 20 grand, I could make it happen. I could find a way to make that happen and get my money back in the next couple of years. When he said over $100,000, I was like, dude, you're wild. This is insane.
Mary, it's Dustin. I just want to know where all that GoFundMe publishing money went. You ask everybody to contribute to your publishing fund. Where'd the money go?
You say you don't own your masters,
I'm
and then
just
I see you
asking.
with a new pair of shoes.
I took a big old swaller out of it, and I was like, uh-oh.
Where's he been?
Does
A
he?
new baby.
Got kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't he have like a hot
He'll write from
Latino-
time to time.
Yeah.
What's that?
Doesn't he have like a hot Latino wife or something like that?
Oh, I don't know
I
about
think she's
that.
Brazilian.
Oh.
That's why I said Latina.
Yeah.
Covers
I
everything.
was being more specific.
Well, you could be right. In which case, we know why he's busy. Help.
Ew.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, 6 figures. That ain't going to work.
Because I was like, oh, maybe I can make that happen, and then I could make, a little extra change every month, and that is not an option.
Well, this company that John Oates is trying to sell the rest of his chunk to, it's a company called Primary Wave, and they paid about, they say between $25 and $50 million, but that's a huge range, so it's probably closer to 30 for half their catalog a while back. And then they bought the copyrights for all of these songs that these sisters had written, and a bunch of those were for Hall & Oates. They didn't write all their own songs. As prolific of songwriters as they are, they didn't write all their, some of their biggest songs. And so, but again, when I saw the headline, Daryl Hall gets restraining order against John Oates, I was like, these guys they're not even hanging out that often, but then they did and tried to maybe mend fences, and it turned into a full-on Donnybrook,
Fist fight.
a fracas. But it wasn't about that. It was far more dull than that. But, Daryl Hall has been doing like a live stream show for a long time. He does a thing called Live from Daryl's House. He was pretty smart about that because he would live stream it, I think, with the eventual thought that he would take those shows and sell them to somebody. I think he has. And John Oates, he goes out, and we've had John Oates on the show before. He goes out and does shows. It can't be easy when the band was Hall & Oates and the other guy was singing most of the songs to go out and then perform those songs. Because, John Oates was kind of like not a creative punchline, but he was not considered like the main dude in Hall & Oates. So he was like the classic side man. He was kind of the Art Garfunkel of Hall & Oates. So if you got to go out and go, because everywhere, if you're John Oates, everywhere you go, people go, hey, you and Hall going to do anything? People don't even know their first names.
Well,
Hey,
half the
I'm
people
John
think
Oates. Oh, what do you do? I was in a band called Hall & Oates. Oh, do you ever talk to Hall anymore? Well, that's his last name. And oh, okay. Hey, cool. You want more water? You say what?
I was going to say, I feel like half the people think it's Holland Oats.
Holland Oats.
I did for a long time. Holland Oats.
It's an old dad joke.
Yeah.
You're hauling oats.
I would like
this truck back here hauling oats.
There's oats from Holland.
Holland Oats. That's what they use to brew Heineken.
Holland Oats.
Yes.
I don't use oats for beer.
That's why Heineken has such a unique taste, Mary, because they
This guy goes to one brewery
and comes back with no information.
Yeah.
So you guys use your oats?
What kind of oats are you brewing that beer with?
Ohio oats?
Get him out of here.
You ever had anything with Holland oats?
They're like, this is the guy.
Oh,
This
it
is the
tastes so
face
good.
of this campaign.
The face of the campaign. The buzzard, Mary, is the face of the campaign.
Sorry.
And a snowman drummer. When you see the can, it'll blow your mind. You don't need oats of any kind. It's hops and grains and
Barley.
barley and wheat.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that there are people, a beer is very much like, everybody thinks they have a new take on it, right? But there are some fundamentals of fermenting that are required. You can't just go playing around with it. There have to be beer brands made with oats.
I really don't think that there are.
Okay.
Because the main.
Well, you craft brewers will tell me whether or not I'm correct, because I really
actually, there's
I know what beer I like based on taste, but I know dick about making beer. And my dad would make beer when I was a kid. My dad, just as a just to try it, see if he could do it. He was making beer in our basement for a while. My dad wasn't a big drinker. He was more of a scientist about it. He's like, I want to see if I can do this and do this. And obviously I never had any because I was like 10 years old. But he did it a couple times, so he must have come up with something he liked.
I mean, it's usually the four things are barley, hops, yeast, water. But there's, I mean, plenty of people add.
That's what I was missing.
You were missing the water? You just had barley, yeast, and hops.
like be beer now.
I feel like there are like oat milk stouts, but I don't know that they're using oats instead of barley. They might. I don't know.
Kentucky Breakfast Stout has oats.
KBS. I don't know if it's still as big of a deal as it was 10 years ago, but those used to be really, really hard to get, and you couldn't get them
Okay.
all the time, and it was like 14%.
Oats to make the final beer thick and creamy.
Do you know what that's called? It's called a mouthfeel.
I hate that word.
When you drink a beer,
exquisite mouthfeel.
Yeah, that's one of
Everybody
the things.
does that.
Your
What's the other word that they just
mouthfeel.
made up? Umami. They just made that up too. Umami and mouthfeel. It's got amazing mouthfeel. Oh, stop it.
Whether it's a little heavier and creamy or a little light and crisp, it's
Yeah,
got a lot of
but they do it with food
effervescence.
too.
Yeah.
Somebody be reviewing a new restaurant. They go, the mouthfeel of the Wagyu beef. Shut up. The mouthfeel. How does it taste? That's what I'm paying for, not the feel. That came from people complaining about their texture issues. Somebody's made up mouthfeel because there were more and more people talking about they couldn't eat something because there were texture issues.
Hey, I have
And I'm one of those
texture
guys.
issues.
I hate butter. I never call it a texture issue. I just don't like the way it.
I like the mouthfeel.
I don't like the way it tastes or feels in my mouth. They should have a word for that. How does it feel in your mouth?
I wonder if you could put two words together.
Man.
I used to work for a prominent, local business that has a
Yes.
lot to do with craft beer.
They
and
were prominent.
they would we had beer training. If you were a beer geek, you had to go to training, and the first training session I ever went to where they're teaching you how to describe beer. So when you taste it, these are like the key points you have to say. And here's some things that beer can taste like
Yeah.
use these kinds of
Adjectives.
descriptive words, right? And one of the flavor profiles of like IPAs and things like that was horse blankety. And I was like, what in the world? Who?
That's
If-
not something I want in my mouth ever.
But if anyone gave you that,
Yeah.
if you're like, hey, what's that beer taste like? It's got like a horse blankety taste.
But
You'd
did
be like,
that
what does
mean
that
something
even-
in beer speak?
like straw, kind of?
Why didn't they? Because it's got a straw feel. Why would that even be
Dude,
good?
and I'm telling you, some of
Horse
these things
blankety.
that they come up with, or like one of the ones you could use to describe like really strong IPAs was cat pee. Like marijuana or cat pee or pine. Like, I'm like, who wants a horse blankety cat pee beer? This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Gee, let's see, guys. If we can choose between cat pee and pine,
Yeah.
which one should we use when describing the beer? Yeah, that's kind of when you've gone off the script.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting to the point where your beer, you're describing it as horse blankety.
Dude, there were so many.
Oh, it tastes like a tree. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. All right.
Yeah, there were so many that were like, I don't know.
Well,
Just
but that
crazy
also,
like
that to me goes to show you, and again, I am no way a beer aficionado. I don't have whatever refined palate for it is required. I only know what tastes good, like a billion other people out there.
Yeah.
But what it tells me is they really don't taste that different. I mean, if
No,
you
they do.
Well, they do. They can. I'm just saying there are so many different kinds of craft beers. Nobody's reinventing the wheel. So that's when you have to work overtime to come up with new adjectives like horse blankety. Because they're like, if we tell them it tastes like this, they'll just go, oh, like X, Y, because nobody wants their craft beer compared to another one, right? So they have to come up with something. They have to come up with an adjective. So they go, horse again.
It
Did
doesn't
anyone-
even
did
feel like it's a
anyone-
real word.
Did anyone raise their hand at that point in the proceedings?
Well, we all were just kind of like, come on. Like,
Did
that's
nobody
not-
ask?
No,
What
I
does
don't think
horse
so.
blankety mean?
Like horse blankety is one thing if you're eating something, but if you're drinking something, I don't know if I want to drink anything that's a blanket.
Yeah.
I don't want any blanket type.
Beverages?
No.
There's an article from 2014. UK craft brewers are making beers that taste like horse blankets.
That's about the time that I was going to these things. Yeah.
Okay, so that person didn't make it up. They were
No,
sour beers.
I love sour
Oatmeal
beers.
stouts are from We Regret Ohio on the live stream said oatmeal stouts are great. And there are oat beers, there's rice beers, all sorts of different grains you can
Wow.
Rice wine is sake, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I
Yep.
mean, well, and honey wine is mead. Like, there's plenty of different. It's all alcohol's crazy, you know.
It is crazy. I love sake, boy. I will suck down a bottle of sake like nobody's
I'll
business.
sit there. Well, I love going to the hibachi when they're spraying it. And I'll just let it
Never
go
say
and go
when.
and go. Yeah. Just chug it as it goes in. That way you don't have to worry about it.
I had a bottle of fake wine on Thanksgiving, and I'm drinking a little glass of it. It's honestly it just tastes like tiny.
Manischewitz?
No, it tastes. It's called Free, F-R-E. Like, get it because it's 0% wine. It just tastes like grape juice with a little bit of tang to it. To be honest, and my mom's drinking. She's like, "This is delicious. I love. Oh, this is good with the key lime pie." And I'm like, Mom, just drink regular wine, dude.
Yeah, the Moscato and the key lime pie. It really brings out the horse blanketiness of the key lime.
My kids are all over 21 now. And on Thanksgiving, my oldest daughter showed up and they were so excited because she had sparkling grape juice, like the Welch's.
Not even like champagne.
They can have real champagne. It's totally, they're all over 21. They could do that, but that's what they wanted. And they were so happy to have it. It was
cracked me up.
it was very funny that they're just
Welch's sparkling grape.
Yeah. I mean, and they haven't changed that bottle in 50 years.
Nope.
That bottle has looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. It was just so funny that that's what they were all hyped for. Like, they're like, yeah, we don't really, because they're not really big drinkers. So they're like, yeah, let's just
I like this. It's
go
sweet.
crazy with this.
Tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom said, this is so
She's
good.
like, I got 3 bottles. I'm like, whoa, calm down.
I have a sugar rush.
Nerdy
You
ass
crash
kids.
later.
Yeah, diabetic coma. I'm going to take a break here. I will have those. If you're a Tesla fan, Tesla is coming back to Cleveland to play for you. Next year, it's March 16th. Tesla's they're keeping a real tour in the spring, and they'll come to MGM Northfield Park. So I'll have those for you coming back. 35192. Want to text me for anything else.
The Alan